The goals of the regulation of marketing communication include maintaining fair competition and protecting consumers from physical, mental, or financial harm. When addressing deceptive advertising, regulation strives to meet both goals of regulation, maintaining fair competition and protecting consumers from physical, mental, and financial harm. Now, deception is when a consumer perceives a claim, either explicitly or implicitly made by the advertiser, to be different from what it actually is, either because the claim itself could be false, or at least the impression being created is false. In other words, it's misleading advertising. And remember, one can mislead without lying, just by withholding relevant information. Because of the deep concern with deceptive advertising, regulators and business alike are concerned that adults receive accurate and adequate information about products. Accuracy of information is obviously related to deceptive advertising, and it's important to keep in mind that the FTC examines ads in terms of truthfulness of both direct claims and implication. One type of implication is the pragmatic implication. Pragmatic implications are implied meanings that are neither directly stated nor logically implied, but that the consumers derive when interpreting language in a practical way. Further, many ads use hedge words and phrases such as can, aid, fight, fights the signs of, and so on. For example, one ad stated, when you use brand X, you're telling your skin to look younger and feel stronger. What does that mean? These hedge words are used to avoid stating facts that must be substantiated. Another category of implications are uniqueness implications. A brand may claim to be calorie-free, for example, and alone and without any other information, this might sound amazing, but it could turn out that all brands of that specific product are calorie-free. At one time, Perrier made this claim about its water, which implied that its water was special. But all water is calorie-free. So, over the next week, have fun noticing other examples of how advertisers try to imply claims about their products without really stating facts directly or making direct claims that they would have to substantiate. Now, regulation is also focused on the amount of information provided. The assumption of much legislation is that more or full information is desirable. However, intuition and research suggests that too much information can lead to information overload and suboptimal consumer outcomes. So as I said, fact claims need to be verifiable. Puffery is a statement of opinion that cannot be verified to be literally true or false. An advertiser or salesperson is using puffery when vague or general superlatives, exaggerations, or subjective opinions instead of facts are included in a statement about a product. But the benefits with puffery are implied, and they may or may not be true. Examples of puffery statements include things that are best, better, greatest, and finest without any substantiation, point of comparison, or frame of reference. For example, Papa John's, better ingredients, better pizza. Better than what? There's no comparison. Or Hunt's, only the best tomatoes grow up to be Hunt's. Best how? Or Progresso, discover the better taste of Progresso. Once again, better than what? Now, it would not be puffery to say 4 out of 5 doctors rated Johnson & Johnson's Band-Aids better than Cure-Aid adhesive bandages because there is a point of comparison, Band-Aids versus Cure-Aids. Or a car advertisement that says rated best new SUV according to J.D. Powers and Associates. Well, here we're using best because it was in fact rated the best on this particular survey. Explicitly false claims are banned by regulation in the US and other countries. For example, in the Federal Trade Commission Act. The U.S. Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, prosecutes deceptive advertising, but it does not prosecute puffery because it views puffery as harmless and subjective hyperbole, an obvious seller's exaggeration, not deception. And the FTC views a reasonable consumer as too intelligent or savvy to be influenced by puffery. But this is not true. Research has shown that the consumer can be influenced by these puffery statements. So look at these 2 ads. Is either one of them deceptive? No. Is one of them using puffery? Yes, the Miller Lite ad. The Progresso ad is making a claim. A claim is a factual statement. The Miller Lite ad says great taste, which is unsubstantiated opinion, not fact. And then less filling, where no point of comparison is given. Less filling than what? Than a pan of lasagna? So remember, puffery is a statement of opinion that cannot be verified as literally true or false. The greatest blank. The most exciting blank, makes hair attractive, amazing results. Puffery works because consumers draw inferences about the facts that they assume the advertiser must have meant to communicate with the puffery claims. So fact claims must be substantiated, and a claim can be substantiated if it can be supported by scientific studies. A claim may also be substantiated if there is an absence of relevant studies contradicting the results. These are the principles of substantiation of claims according to advertising regulation. First, consumers read ads broadly. You cannot argue for a narrow reading of that particular ad information. It must be how the typical consumer would interpret that information. Second, the evidence must be for actual products. Third, the evidence must be from accepted experts. And then fourth, the FTC and the courts will consider the totality of evidence in making decisions about whether or not a claim has been substantiated. Now, just because advertising or marketing communication, such as social media marketing, does not make a verifiable claim of fact, does not mean that the ad is deceptive, misleading, or using puffery. There are other types of advertising. Benefit claims emphasize a product's benefits to the user rather than product features. Symbolic advertising is not false or misleading. It gives symbolic meanings to products and their logos. For example, this slide shows a castle made out of loaves of Hovis bread to associate the bread with this national symbol of Irish heritage. Self-identity advertising tries to create a desire for a particular product as a symbol of the consumer's self-image. Self-identity advertising turns the product into a symbol of a particular lifestyle or image, and then the consumer buys that product to express what sort of person they are or would like to be. If there has been unethical advertiser behavior, such as deceptive or false advertising, the FTC can take a variety of actions to try to fix the problem. First, consent orders. With a consent order, the company agrees to stop the behavior, but does not have to admit guilt. Second, administrative complaints. These are filed if no consent order agreement is forthcoming. There's a formal proceeding. You have to hear the case in front of an administrative judge. Both the FTC and the advertiser are going to have to submit evidence, and the judge is going to make a ruling. Third is corrective advertising. Corrective advertising is run by a firm to cause consumers to unlearn inaccurate information that they acquired as a result of the firm's earlier false or misleading advertising. Now, it's rarely used, but it is used when discontinuing false ads is not enough. For example, in the Listerine case, Listerine was required to run corrective advertising. And then finally, consumer redress, where the FTC actually mandates reimbursement of consumers who were deceived. We talked about accuracy. Let's talk about adequacy of consumer information. For example, FDA labeling rules dealing with trans fats. These provide opportunities for some food marketers and challenges for others. For example, looking at the packaging of this Edie's cookie dough ice cream, Edie's can use the 0 grams of trans fat as a point of differentiation from other brands of ice cream. Now, nutritional labeling requirements in general are supposed to help consumers make sound diet choices. However, note how the percentage of fat is presented. The nutritional guidelines present fats in terms of a percent of an average person's daily fat requirements that one serving of the product will provide. Well, this isn't very useful. For people who eat more or less than the average daily calories, and admittedly, the variance here is huge. Consumers need to know the percentage of the product that is in fact fat. However, a product could be pure fat, for example, cooking oil, and if the serving size is small, it could show a small percent of daily requirements, such as 2 or 3%. Broadly, the main concern with consumer information adequacy is that each consumer have reasonable access to all the information that he or she requires to make an informed decision. Thus, the firm should bring to the consumer's attention important information that they might not know to seek out. To ensure information adequacy, a number of laws have been passed, such as the federal truth in lending legislation. The problem is to do this without causing information overload. Information overload occurs when too much or too complicated information is provided, and then the consumer either doesn't have the ability or the inclination to process that information. So I hope that you enjoyed learning about the regulation of advertising and marketing communication.